Thunder. Coverage begins tonight at 8 Eastern with tip-off at 8.
Ex-wives and your current trophy wife wants a life insurance policy 3 times the size of the policies you had to purchase for your previous mistakes? If so, you need to call Big Lou at Term Provider, 800-568-2790. Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good health, a $1 million policy.
John Granado here for Ownwell. I lived in Houston for 30-plus years. I protested my own taxes, and sometimes I didn't even protest them, and that is a big mistake, both those things, because if I still lived in Texas, I would use Ownwell. Ownwell makes saving money on property taxes easy. Year after year. New customers can expect to save on average $774 a year by signing up. Ownwell has an 88% success rate in reducing property taxes.
And nice to have you with us. I'm Will Doctor, bringing you the latest on the world of golf here at the halfway point of Week 8 of the PGA Tour season. Over the next hour, we'll hear from leaders and chasers at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, third signature event of the year, where it has been all Daniel Berger through the first 36 holes. 63-68. And Berger has a 5-shot lead to begin the weekend over two-time PGA Tour winner Akshay Bhatia. We will hear from other chasers. Ludvig Berg is back in the mix, finding the face again. Sahith Theegala is back. Colin Morikawa, what a story for him. You remember last year, Morikawa had Bay Hill in his hands going into the final round before Russell Henley kind of snuck up behind him. That was a painful finish for Morikawa this time last year. He went through some other struggles as the 2025 season progressed, and clearly he has found his form again as the two-time major champion in Morikawa. Won just three events ago at Pebble Beach, and he will look to chase down Berger over the weekend. We'll hear from Morikawa later on. I think we have to start with the fact that, when you look back to Tuesday, I still had a lot of faith in Shane Lowry this week, someone who had contended here the last 2 years, and someone who, when you look back to last week in Palm Beach, really had one of the more painful finishes we've seen in the last 5 years in professional golf. And, I think my mindset with Lowry going into this week was the fact that, number one, he really only made 2 bad swings over the last 36 holes last week. Obviously, the tee shot that went in the water on 16, and then he winged another one straight right on 17 to hand Nico Echeverria his third PGA Tour title. from a numbers perspective, a couple more things. Shane Lowry usually doesn't talk to the media after that kind of finish, and he was very honest with the press in Palm Beach after the tough loss last week. He told the press, look, my daughter's 4 years old. She still hasn't seen me win yet. She was on the 72nd hole waiting to celebrate with me. And ultimately, we just have to move on to the Arnold Palmer after a finish like that. So when Vegas, suddenly increased a major champion's odds in Lowry from 19-1 to 51-1, that's my bread and butter. I had to jump on it. Felt like his ball striking was in a good place, and plus, he's been putting very well. We know anytime Shane Lowry starts putting well, it's a good idea to get on him, especially on Bermuda surfaces where he's based out of. That did not pan out. That's just the bottom line. Lowry didn't hit the ball that bad in the first round. Could not get a putt to fall from inside 10 feet. And then yesterday, you saw the pressure back on the line. He was on the cut line going into 18. He put his drive in the middle of the fairway and, only had 156 in, probably a flip 8-iron, a nice right pin that fits beautifully for Shane's cut. And, he nearly put that second shot in the water with the weekend on the line. And, had to hit a ball out of the rocks, couldn't get up and down, ended up missing the cut by one. So that, to me, as far as picks, chalk that up as the first big swing and the miss of the year. Went chasing on Lowry. Ultimately, it did not pan out. So he will not be around over the weekend. We will get to Berger. We will get to the Chasers at Bay Hill. You have an opposite field event going on in Puerto Rico this weekend. And PGA Tour rookie Chandler Blanchett, it has a commendable 4-shot lead going into the weekend there at Grand Reserve. And you have a number of very talented young players who are chasing him this weekend. Gordon Sargent. We all remember when Gordon Sargent, came onto the scene as a freshman at Vanderbilt, playing in the Masters. He could have gone to the PGA Tour after his freshman year at Vanderbilt, ended up waiting 3 more years to get his degree, and ultimately he has fulfilled full status on the PGA Tour now. Sargent will have a nice chance at PGA Tour victory number 1. Ricky Castillo is in, a 4-way tie for third place, and with Jesper Svensson, 18-year-old Blades Brown, and Jeremy Pohl. Ricky Castillo played very well last week in Palm Beach. Had a top 10 finish, loves the Bermuda grass, loves playing in the warm, windy conditions that are presented in Puerto Rico. I love the Florida Gator alum in Ricky Castillo. I liked him pre-tournament. The weather has been very hit or miss in Puerto Rico this week. So nothing live on the board yet. But Ricky Castillo sitting at 8 under, 5 back. Very good live look going into the weekend in Puerto Rico. As far as the Joburg Open across the pond in South Africa, a lot of exciting things going on over there. Brandon Thompson Robinson, an Englishman, he's out in front by 1 through 8 holes in his third round. There's been a ton of weather issues at the Joburg as well. Our guy, Henny DePlacius, is 1 shot back. He is 4 under through 11. We had him last week to win. Ultimately couldn't get it done as Casey Jarvis won his second in a row. And, tomorrow, even though I think he is a considerable ways back now, Jarvis will look to become the first player on the European Tour to win 3 events in a row since Nick Faldo. I'll give you an update on Jarvis later on. I believe he's lost some ground in this third round. Dan Bradbury, he is in a part of that 4-way tie at 10 under, 1 back of Robinson Thompson. Bradbury's been playing very well at the moment. How about Adrian Otigwe? This is a Spaniard whose nationality was bought by Dubai. Dubai paid him to switch nationalities. And so now instead of Spain, Otigwe represents Dubai. And what a massive weekend for him. As far as standing up for his home country, You see what's going on in Dubai right now. It looks like Dubai, obviously one of the nicest places on earth. Not the case right now with the war going on. Maybe Otigwe can get it done for his country this weekend. Patrick Reed, how about this? He's already won twice on the DP World Tour this year. He's 5 under through 15 in his third round, sitting at 8 under. Only 3 back of the lead. Watch out for P. Reed to make a move, Houston's own. Another 2-time winner on the DP this year, and Jaden Shaper. He is hanging around at 8 under. So, and of course, our outright this week is Dan Von Tonder, who right now sits at 7 under total. Still in the mix, still with a chance at 48 to 1. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll get an update from our DP World Tour contributor, Timmy Time, because, Henné Duplessis is in the mix. Timmy's been in my ear for the last 4 weeks about Henné Duplessis, so maybe this weekend it is finally Henny time with Timmy Time. Now, we will also get to Tanner Bandini again at 8:30. Let me tell you why. It's because Conroe's Chad Sewell is once again back in the mix at KFT Chile. He is top 5 going into the weekend with a chance to win. He was in position last week in Argentina. And this week, back in the mix again. Sewell, he caught it a 6 under 65 yesterday. And this is his new career high 36-hole position. And, obviously, when you look back at Sewell, graduated Sam Houston, had a wonderful college career there, and then finished tied 34th at final stage of Q School in December to earn Korn Ferry Tour membership. He is off to a wonderful start to the year. Can't wait to hear from Bandini at 8:30. Looking at the leader at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, it's 4-time PGA Tour winner Daniel Berger. And his 5-stroke lead marks the largest 36-hole lead on the PGA Tour since Robert McIntyre at the 2025 BMW Championship. When you look at Berger's first 2 rounds, he shot a 63 on Thursday. He said he looked up. He said it was one of those rounds. Berger shot 68 yesterday. He said he actually hit the ball better yesterday. And that Thursday was one of those situations where you finish out on 18 and all of a sudden you look at your scorecard and you've made 10 birdies. That's the kind of player he is. Here was Berger on a little bit of more tough course conditions at Bay Hill after round 2.
I think the course is just playing different today than it was yesterday. It's the pins were tough and the greens are firm and the greens are fast and you can hit a good shot, and just because you're 8 feet above the hole doesn't necessarily mean it's a birdie chance. So there was plenty of times where I hit some good shots at 20 feet and was happy walking away with a 4.
As far as bumps in the road through 2 rounds, Thursday, Berger shoots a 9 under 63. So that was stress-free. But yesterday, he did make a bogey on 7 and, then parred the tough 8th and 9th hole. And made a great birdie on 10. And then he just played that back 9 beautiful. Daniel Berger is plodding stress-free, hitting the middle of the fairway, hitting the middle of the green, make a 20-footer here or there. And all of a sudden, he's going to be a very tough guy to catch. Here was Berger on his best moments, what he felt best about in his game after round 2.
I feel like probably the longer 2 putts, it's so easy to get them running 6, 7, 8, 9 feet by the hole. They are lightning quick, like borderline, too quick. Like when you put the putter down, you almost, there's no friction, the putter just wants to slide. So it's a fantastic challenge. It feels like a U.S. Open.
Look, you have your dangerous chasers. Akshay Bhatia, you look at the way he's been playing, had a wonderful start to the year around the California swing, and now he's gearing up for the Players next week where he had a share of the 36-hole lead last year. Akshay is coming off a second round 66. When he starts feeling comfortable with the driver and he's putting well on firm, crusty greens like they have at Bay Hill, you got to watch out for him. Ludvig Berg, we know this guy is an absolute killer. Plus 950 going into the weekend. I think from a live perspective, it feels like yesterday Oberg got the round out of the way and he's been hitting it phenomenal for the first and second round, not really missing shots. He burned a lot of edges in yesterday's 71. If he gets putts to fall today, you could see, I think Ludvig is 29-1 to shoot the low third round. Wow, I think with the way he has it going, I'm not saying Berger's going to fall back. Does Oberg, if Berger does 70-70 over the next 2 days, does that catch Berger? Probably not. A lot of the players out there are saying, if you gave him 13 under at the beginning of the week, they would take that on Sunday, and Berger's here now. I don't see him making a ton of mistakes. I could see Oberg, making a little bit of a run in that lead today. We're going to talk about Rory McIlroy a little bit later on. He started to heat up yesterday with that 4-under round. To me, the low rounds of Saturday, it's between Oberg, it's between Goddard, and it's between McIlroy. We're going to get to more on that later on. Houston golfers, here is something you're going to want to check out here over the next several weeks. April 3rd and 4th, the Texas Golf Expo, presented by Avid Golfers, making its first stop in Houston at NRG Park. You'll be able to swing the latest clubs, check out gear and apparel from the game's biggest brands, and score some great show-only deals, some deals you'll only be able to get if you're at NRG Park on April 3rd and 4th. The first 500 people each day will get a goodie bag packed with discounted rounds of golf and a couple sleeves of golf balls. Every attendee gets a local round of golf plus a free chance to putt for $5,000. Once again, you show up at the Texas Golf Expo April 3rd and 4th. You will get a free chance to putt for $5,000. I'll be there broadcasting live on Saturday morning. Come by and say hello. It's the Texas Golf Expo, April 3rd and 4th at NRG Park. Get tickets now at texasgolfexpo.com. That's texasgolfexpo.com.
Mike Booker, chairman of the Texas Golf Hall of Fame and holder of a record number of Texas Golf Association championships.
The Texas Golf Hall of Fame is the foundation of golf in our great state. So many great individuals, Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, Kathy Whitworth, Ben Crenshaw, and many others, lead the way in making golf in Texas known around the world. Now you can experience the history of Texas golf digitally at texasgolfhof.org and share with your family and friends. See you on the course.
This is the Golf Hour
on ESPN 97.5 and the ESPN Houston app.
From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Will Doctor.
All right, once again, in case you missed the first segment, we went through the world of golf in Week 8. Just gave you a glance at where the leaderboards stand heading into the weekend at Bay Hill and Puerto Rico and Joburg, and we're going to have Tanner Bandini on the show next segment. He's caddying for Conroe's Chad Sewell at KFT Chile, and they are in the top 5 going into the weekend for the second week in a row. So you can color me fired up for the Chile action as one of our own here from Houston in the mix going into the weekend. I got a good feeling about Sewell. Back to Bay Hill. You know, Daniel Berger, he holds his 4th career 36-hole lead on tour. It's his first since 2022. You look back to that year, he held a 36-hole lead at the halfway point of the Cognizant Classic, ended up finishing 4th. But this is a guy who knows how to close. You look back to one of his first victories, the 2016 FedEx St. Jude Classic. He converted a 36-hole lead that week at a very similar Bermuda fast track in TPC Southwind in Memphis. So, you know, Berger with a 5-shot lead, as aforementioned, I think he only needs to shoot 70-70 over the weekend to win this tournament. Here was Berger on his recipe for success at Bay Hill, and the fact that if he continues to play his game, he's going to be a tough dude to catch.
The recipe is pretty simple. It's fairways and greens, and if you can do that, it's hard for guys to catch you. You know, so that's going to be the challenge, is to hit a bunch of fairways and a bunch of greens over the next couple days.
You know, when you look back at when you do your research on Berger, you know, 2020 was a year that he should have been in the winner's circle in a major had it not been for the COVID-19 pandemic. You look at how he started 2020, 9th in Phoenix, 5th at Pebble, tied 4th at Honda. And then the Players gets canceled at the halfway point, and he's taken off the golf course for the better part of 6 months. He came right back. You know, the tour resumed at Colonial in June of 2020, and he won that tournament. That was his 3rd career PGA Tour win. The press asked him yesterday that, and his final PGA Tour win, his 3rd was in 2020 at Colonial. His 4th was in 2021 at Pebble Beach. So 2020, 2021, he was absolutely rolling before going through some injuries over the last 3 years. But here was Berger, his answer on if you told him it's going to take you another 5 years for your next victory.
I would think that, you know, life is, you can't control what happens. You know, you just do your best, and, you know, things happen, and, you know, I wouldn't trade what I've gone through over this time for another win or whatever. You know, I think your path is your path, and I'm here today because of what I went through over the last couple of years. And so, you know, I just do my best to be the best golfer that I can be, and whatever happens, happens.
It would be a full circle moment for Berger to win this week, because he did win. You look back to 2015, his rookie year on the PGA Tour. He won the Arnold Palmer Award. You know, he lives in Florida, knows this golf course well. You know, he said, you know, he hasn't played here a ton over the years, only because it's a tricky spot on the schedule. But he plays with a ton of confidence. He is one of the few players on the PGA Tour where when he steps up on Thursday, Daniel Berger, when his game is in a good spot, really believes that he really only has maybe 10 to 20 other guys to beat out there with how great he can be when he's on his A game. You look at how some of the other star players speak about Berger. You know, Colin Morikawa, this is a 2-time major champion, a guy who won again a couple weeks ago at Pebble Beach. Here was Morikawa on the pop and sizzle that Berger possesses. All right. We're going to get back to Morikawa here in a second. I'm sorry. We'll hear from him shortly. When you look at the rest of this leaderboard, I think that Akshay and Ludwig could make a push. You know, Sahith Theegala and Colin Morikawa, they are at 7 under alongside Ludwig Åberg. And let's talk about Akshay, who is in second place at 8 under. You look at his first go-round here last year, he opened 79 at Bay Hill. And so this is a course where a lot of people felt uncomfortable with him at the beginning of the week. We saw through that based on his amazing play in California. Here was Akshay on fixing some of that bad course history at Bay Hill.
I think just certain golf courses where I know that I've had issues or challenges mentally is where my coach and I have kind of tried to figure out, the best ways I can overcome those situations. And so that's what I do this week. Like, I didn't play great here last year, and it was my first time. And so there are certain things I knew what to expect, but at the same time, just trying to figure out a better plan of execution for each hole that I didn't like.
Course history is an interesting thing. There's a couple guys that Akshay was one. Nikola Højgaard is another player who was just playing amazing going into this week. You thought, how could he not play well here? He made the cut, but he's sitting one over. Nikola, he's missed the cut here his first two go-rounds at Bay Hill. But just playing amazing at the moment. But this is a course that can absolutely give you some scar tissue with 9 holes featuring water. This course absolutely sets up for a massive collapse. Not that I think you're going to see that from Berger, but with all the trouble around, it could absolutely happen. Here was Akshay on fending off any scar tissue at Bay Hill.
I mean, I've only played 2 rounds here, so, it's like there's a little bit, and there's certain holes where I was like, okay, I'm definitely hitting it on this side this year. But, yeah, I've figured it out, especially on the greens. I've putted great. It's nice to see that on tough greens and a little bit of wind.
You look at Akshay's third-round matchups. You've got Akshay as a plus 110 dog against Ricky Fowler. Ricky's played well here before. He had a great relationship with Arnold Palmer. You think back to the 1 year that Ricky had to skip this tournament, and it meant so much to him that he actually drove up to Bay Hill and had lunch with Mr. Palmer, told him himself that he was not going to be able to make it due to scheduling. Obviously Arnold, being a big fan of Ricky, was not happy about it, but understood. Ricky, he's got some good mojo going into the weekend. We're going to hear from him a little bit later on about what it would mean to win Bay Hill, but I'll stay away from Akshay against Ricky. Akshay against Berger, pass. Akshay versus Theegala, the All-American Indian matchup. I'll pass there as well, with Theegala starting to get back in the saddle. You look at Ludvig Åberg. I think this is, if there's a player that, if I'm Daniel Berger, I'm kind of watching. I'm a little fearful of what he's going to do. Ludvig Åberg would have been in the mix at both Pebble Beach and Riviera had he not gotten off to such atrocious starts. But he managed his game beautifully at both events. Riviera rallied for a top 20 after a very tough start. Here was, and you have to remember, everyone, basically Åberg comes and starts the 2026 season and gets sick in Palm Springs, and it takes him a couple events to kind of get over that, and he's had some stomach issues that he's had. He's gone to a doctor, he's done some testing. Åberg, trying to figure out what's going on with some stomach issues. A lot of people forget that this guy has maybe the best swing in golf. He is an absolute killer who already has 2 PGA Tour victories at under 25 years old. Won the RSM a couple years ago, and then won at Torrey Pines last year. Here's what we knew: as soon as he got over those stomach issues, Åberg was definitely going to be back at the top of the leaderboard. I had to pass pre-tournament because of his first round scoring numbers, not only this year but also at Bay Hill. That was an instant regret as Åberg opened 66 on Thursday. Here was an update on where his game is at the moment after round 2.
Yeah, it's definitely, trending in the right direction, I feel like. Like I said yesterday, I felt like I saw some nice things early on, sort of weekend at Pebble, a couple of nice days at Riv as well. So I felt like things were getting better. I feel like today was a nice missed a few fairways, sort of 8, 9, 10, but mid-round I was able to adjust it, which is a big thing for me. Obviously, we're not going to hit every single shot perfect, but I was able to adjust mid-round, which I thought was nice.
3 top 25s at Bay Hill over his career. 24th in 23, 25th in 24, 22nd last year. And once again, had to withdraw to start this year at the Amex, missed the cut the next week at Torrey Pines, finished 37th at Pebble, and then tied 20th 2 weeks ago at Riviera. But we knew this was coming for Oberg based on the way he ended last season. You look at his run in the playoffs on this side of the pond, tied 7th at the BMW, tied 9th at the St. Jude, and then he keeps it rolling through the DP World Tour playoffs, finishes 23rd at Abu Dhabi, and then tied 3rd at the DP World Tour Championship. If there's any chance Berger, comes back down to earth, maybe shoots 2 or 3 over today, my pick as the player who's going to be waiting in the wing is without a doubt Ludvig Oberg. But he has enjoyed all 3 of his experiences at Bay Hill. And you look back at some of his scorecards here over the years. 2023, he goes 70, 70, 73, 73. He has had a tough time in the first rounds, and he has gotten through that this year. And I think at 29-1 to have the low third round, man, I think that's a great number. Here was Oberg looking back on some of his first experiences at Bay Hill.
Oh, yeah, I vividly remember playing here in 23. I was paired with Adam Scott on Saturday and Patrick Cantlay on Sunday, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. It was sort of my first experience playing really firm greens like this, and it was my first experience playing, a really hard golf course in that kind of tour setup. So I took away a lot from that week. I felt like sort of what I went on to do for the rest of that college year was predicate of this. And it gave me a lot of confidence seeing the shots Adam would hit, the shots Patrick would hit, and I at least felt like I would match that. So it was definitely a cool week.
Yeah, watch out for Adam Scott, too, going into the weekend. 68-73, lost a little bit of ground yesterday. But, Oberg, he is in a great spot going into the weekend, plus 950 to win right now. I believe he was somewhere between 35-1 and 50-1 pre-tournament, so value is gone there. We got to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to hear more. Well, first we're going to get to Tanner Bandini. We're also going to hear more from players on the firm conditions at Bay Hill. You got a lot of players. Daniel Berger said this is playing exactly like a U.S. Open. We'll hear from those players. We'll also hear from the leaders in Puerto Rico, Chandler Blanchett. How about John Daly II, out contending in his first pro start on the PGA Tour? Daly went. He's at -7. He is tied 7th. He cut it a 5 under 67 in the second round. So we'll hear from Daly a little bit later on. A couple other amateurs, Miles Russell. We'll hear from 18-year-old pro Blades Brown. A lot to do in the next 2 segments on top of hearing from Chad Sewell's caddy Tanner Bandini. And then we got to get an update from Timmy Time as Rene de Plessis just took a share of the lead at the Joburg and has another birdie putt on his 14th hole in the third round. So, quick break. Hey, Houston, are you looking for a crisp, refreshing beer with real taste and no junk? Try 8 Elite Light Beer, the new light beer from Hall of Famer Troy Aikman. It's brewed with just water, malts, and hops, no additives, no sweeteners, with only 90 calories and 2.6 carbs for a clean finish that you will absolutely love. And right now, by the way, Henny Time just got to 13 under, solo lead at the Joburg. Right now, Woodrow's is pouring 8 on tap at Little Woodrow's Edo off San Emmanuel. Perfect for game day, happy hour, or just kicking back with friends. Go grab one at Woodrow's or have 8, whatever you're feeling. And if you're staying in, you can pick up a case at H-E-B or Brookshire Brothers and keep the good times going. 8 Elite Light Beer, lose the additives, keep the taste. Grab yours today.
You're listening to the Golf Hour
on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
from the Huntington Bank Studios. Here's Will Doctor.
All right, let's head down to Chile, Santiago, Prince of Wales Country Club for the 6th of 25 events on the 2026 Korn Ferry Tour schedule. Great leaderboard there. Doc Redman, Davis Shore, Augusto Nunez in a tie for first at 9 under par. But the story here in Houston for the second week in a row is that Conroe's Chad Sewell is back in the mix. Rookie on the PGA Tour, caught it a 6 under 65, logged a new career-high 36-hole position, only surpassing the 36-hole position that he best set last week at the Argentine Open. Ended up finishing tied 9th. But this is a great start to the year for a KFT rookie who just earned his membership off Q School, where he finished tied 34th. And we're lucky enough to have his caddy, Tanner Bandini, on the show before the third round. Tanner, how you doing this weekend? Thanks for joining the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Will. I like this little kind of tradition we're building where we get late weekend tee time so I can call in and talk to you. I hope we keep that tradition going.
I've got a good feeling about it, Tanner, and really we're creating some good mojo here for Chad. I mean, we're getting the conversation in first thing in the morning, getting you ready to roll, getting you in the mindset. Let me start with this. What did you learn last weekend in Argentina over Saturday and Sunday after being close to the top through the halfway point? What were your takeaways there?
Yeah, well, it's always fun to kind of be in contention, feel like you have a chance. Something I kind of always knew about him is he's super gritty, hates making bogeys, very scrappy player. So getting to see that magnified in front of a huge crowd. The crowd in Argentina was unbelievable. So seeing how he manages emotions under pressure, and he did a phenomenal job of that.
When you look at Prince of Wales Country Club and your preparation, you've been down in South America for quite some time now. How does Prince of Wales differ from Jockey Club last week? And what have your thoughts on the course been here through two rounds?
They do have some similarities. I've never in my life seen a course this firm. I mean, from morning to afternoon, it's two completely different golf courses. Once that dew wears off and the wind seems to always pick up and start gusting around noon. So it's making sure if you're walking the course in the morning, making sure you understand, okay, there's some dew out there. These balls are more receptive. And then, I mean, once that afternoon sun comes up, these greens, like even wedge shots, you're landing 20 yards short of the pin and they're chasing all the way back. It's unbelievable, really.
You get Chad, let's say Chad drives one in the fairway, out there 320 yards, has about 156 in. Give the listener a feel of your process. As soon as you and Chad get to the ball, what is your process like as far as getting Chad ready for the shot, Tanner?
Obviously, everything is very hole location dependent. So when it's back pins here, we have a very, very conservative approach. And by conservative, I mean like landing it just on the green, and it's been getting almost all the way back there, if not to the middle. If it's a front pin, you're kind of thinking just land it on hole number and just let it release to the middle and two-putt and get out of there. So it's very, very strategic based on hole locations and scoring averages.
Let me take you through Chad's scorecard yesterday, Tanner. You guys start on 10. He goes out in 33. Birdies 2, Eagles 3, pars 4, pars 5, birdies 6, pars 7, birdies 8. When your guy's on a run like this, does your routine with him change? Are you speaking to him less? Are you trying to get out of the way, or do you keep it the exact same, Tanner? Are you trying to keep everything very consistent as far as your interactions with your guy?
I think it's definitely the same and being very consistent. Obviously, just like a golfer, as a caddy, you get some momentum, so it's a lot easier to call shots and communicate when things are going really well. You feel like you're not going to miss a call and he's not going to miss a shot, so it's obviously a lot better, but the communication's very similar in my opinion.
Okay, what's been your favorite spot in South America so far?
Ooh, that's close. I guess I got to wait to see how we finish this week to let you know. But I mean, getting that first top 10 on the belt was an unbelievable feeling. Gets you some momentum for the rest of the year and feeding into this tournament. So once you kind of break the ice there, you get that momentum and you feel like, okay, we can compete out here and we can compete at a very high level.
You look at the players at Bay Hill right now, and, they're all probably staying in a resort or on property at Arnie's place. Must be a pretty good situation. Give our listener a feel of what players and caddies, as far as booking Airbnbs or hotels or, whatever your situation might be. I've heard – I've heard it done all different ways, but I know it's not as luxurious as what the guys are going through at Bay Hill. Give me a feel of what your preparation for the travel and the stay. Give the listener a feel of how tough that is, Tanner, and what you have to experience down there in South America.
The hotel in Argentina was decent, but kind of not the answer you expect. The host hotel in Santiago is actually a 5-star hotel, so I just ate a huge omelet for breakfast and red velvet muffins. So this is the nicest hotel we'll stay at by far. So I'm kind of soaking this in. They have a great weight room there. It's an extremely nice hotel, but I've heard don't get too used and comfortable to that.
I've been hearing guys, having to room up, 5, 6 in a room, and that completely caught me off guard. I'm glad you're in a great situation. I've just heard stories over the years of guys really having to grind it out, but I'm glad that the Korn Ferry Tour is setting you guys up for better situations. It sounds like that's what's going on.
100%. And this hotel's fantastic now, but taking that red-eye flight to Argentina, and then we're on the red-eye flight home. Travel gets a little rough. There's no private jets and first-class airfare, so getting accustomed to sleeping on planes has been a little difficulty, but we're making it well out here.
All right, Tanner, last question for you. I mean, you look at your schedule coming up after this week. You'll get a couple weeks off. Hopefully we'll get together, talk in person. March 26th, y'all go to Savannah. To the Landings Golf and Athletic Club. April 2nd, you go to Lakewood Ranch, Florida for the Suncoast, and you're in Tulum a couple weeks after that. Let me tell you, as far as, Chad obviously having a great feel of Bermuda surfaces, you as well, you got to be pretty fired up for this stretch in the southern part of the United States and Mexico, where it seems like the surfaces and the layout are really going to favor y'all. What are your thoughts on that, Tanner?
Oh, 100%. I'm obviously thrilled with how we've competed these past 2 weeks on courses and surfaces that, I won't say he's very unfamiliar with, but it's not really our bread and butter. So you feel like, we're playing very well, very far from home once we get back in the States. Travel's a lot easier, travel's way less, and he'll have his family coming to a lot of those events, so a more comfortable feel for him. It's very nice kind of stacking up these points early and then get back to the States and keep it going.
Tanner, we appreciate a couple of your minutes this morning. Once again, Conroe's own Chad Sewell, 2 back of the lead going into the third round at the Chile Classic on the Korn Ferry Tour. Tanner, good luck. We're rooting for you this weekend, man. Go get the job done. All right, that's Tanner Bandini. We appreciate his time this morning. Houston golf fans, one of the most prestigious amateur championships in the world is coming back to Texas. The 2026 Spirit International Amateur Golf Championship takes place November 9th through the 14th at the number 1 ranked golf course in Texas, Whispering Pines Golf Club. The Spirit brings together the best amateur men and women from 20 countries in a 54-hole Olympic-style competition featuring both team and individual gold medals. And if you follow pro golf, you already know the legacy. Past Spirit competitors including Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Victor Hovland, Rose Zhang, Lexi Thompson. Just look at the 2 leaderboards this week on the PGA Tour. The only amateur in the field at Bay Hill is South Africa's Daniel Bennett, who plays his college golf at Texas. He represented South Africa at the 2024 Spirit alongside Christian Moss. And you look at Puerto Rico, David Ford represented the United States with Tommy Morrison at the 2024 Spirit. So basically, you come out and watch this tournament, you are seeing the next generation of the best players in the world, and you will see them fairly immediately. I mean, if you came out to the 24 Spirit, you're now watching David Ford on the PGA Tour and Daniel Bennett's on the way. Excellent tournament. In my opinion, the best amateur tournament in the world. Opening ceremonies begin November 10th, with tournament rounds running Thursday through Saturday and closing ceremonies on the 14th. And it's bigger than golf. Hosted by the Spirit Golf Association, this championship supports critical charitable initiatives in healthcare, education, and food programs, with more than $13 million contributed to date. The 2026 Spirit International, bringing the world's best young players to Texas and putting Houston at the center of global amateur golf. Learn more at www.thespiritgolf.org.
Mike Booker, chairman of the Texas Golf Hall of Fame and holder of a record number of Texas Golf Association championships.
The Texas Golf Hall of Fame is the foundation of golf in our great state. So many great individuals: Ben Hogan, Byron Nelson, Kathy Whitworth, Ben Crenshaw, Babe Zaharias, Tom Kite, and many more lead the way in making golf in Texas known around the world. Learn about the historic golf courses and the individuals that promoted the game through leadership, teaching, and passion. Texas and golf go hand in hand in the history of the game and camaraderie. Together we can honor the past, celebrate the present, and inspire future generations of Texas golfers. Golf is a sport for everyone, and I encourage you to experience the history of Texas golf digitally at texasgolfhof.org and share with your golf family and friends. That's texasgolfhof.org. See you on the course.
The Golf Hour continues now on ESPN 97.5 and 97.9 HD2.
From the Huntington Bank Studios, here's Will Doctor.
How about this? Hene Duplessis takes a share of the lead in the third round at the Joburg Open. Brandon Robin Thompson trying to hold strong, but we all know his fate tomorrow. We've got Timmy Time on the line. I'm just going to go ahead and make Timmy Time my DP World Tour contributor. He has been very, very high on Henny Time over the last several weeks. But, Tim, I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts on this right now because, up chasing Duplessis and Robinson Thompson, what a leaderboard this is. Dan Bradbury playing very well, 2 shots back. I'm watching the third round right now. Casey Jarvis has found a way to make his move up the leaderboard, 4 back. He's one-handing golf shots and looking frustrated out there while at the same time making birdies. And Houston's own Patrick Reed shot a 5 under today, and he's at 8 under within striking distance. And, I don't know if I'd count out Jaden Shaper and Dan Van Tonder at 8 under. Timmy, nice to have you aboard this morning. Great call on Henny Time. What's on your mind?
Nice to be on. I think it might be Henny Time. He has birdied 6 of his last 8 holes. He is on a roll. He's 7 under through 15 on the day, tied for first with Robinson Thompson at 13 under. But I think it's between 2 guys, Henny and the former champ here, Dan Bradbury. Who is at 5 under, 11 under for the tournament, 2 shots back of the lead behind Henny and Robinson Thompson. And of everybody in the field, Bradbury arguably has some of the best course history and a limited sample size in 3 starts. But in 3 starts, he has won here back in 2023. He won here at the Joburg Open, and in 2024, he finished 3rd place here at the Joburg Open. So great course history here and great form, and he's someone that knows how to get the job done, not just anywhere, but on this golf course at the Joburg Open. So in my opinion, I think it's going to come down to Henny Duplessis and Dan Bradbury. Tomorrow.
Okay, this is my last thought before we get to some Bay Hill stuff. I want to get to Rory and Oberg. But, Tim, in your opinion, Hene is going off today. Do you worry about the fact that he is getting his low round out of the way right now? Or is this something at 29 years old, he's been in contention countless times over his career and stepping over his shot on the par 3 16th right now. Do you worry at all that the low round is coming a bit too early like we saw last week, Tim?
I'm not really worried. This is a guy that if he can avoid the big numbers, that would be the concern because he's going to make his birdies. This is a guy that is an absolute birdie machine. And come to think about it, it's not necessarily that Duplessis played horrible. It's just Jarvis really just went out there and won it.
Yep.
That
was the case 2 weeks ago, with Iora. 2 weeks ago at an easier setup. And Jarvis just goes out there, absolutely blitzes him. And then last week, the victim was Hene with a sensational final round from Jarvis. So I hear you there, Tim. Duplessis just went left on 16. The camera had a tough time picking up his ball. I think it's just in the left bunker there on the par 3. And Shaper's in there. Shaper's in there tight. Let's do one more thing here. When it comes to Bay Hill, Tim, I'm really between when it comes to the low round of Saturday. I think you and I both agree. I think it's going to be Rory or maybe Ludwig who's starting to pick up his game. But I want to take some time to listen to Rory after the second round, get his thoughts because He shot a 4-under yesterday, Tim, and I thought he looked absolutely flawless. I can't recall him missing a golf shot. Here was Rory after that 68.
One bogey, hit it in the water on 8, but made a good putt for bogey there, and then I really felt like that kept any momentum that I had for the round going, and played the last 10 holes really, really well. So overall really pleased. Played a very sort of controlled, patient round of golf, which you need to do around here, and good day's work.
For a Friday, were you lucky about the game?
I did. I mean, I felt like I played okay yesterday as well. I made a couple of big numbers. I felt like the wind got very strong on us for a portion of the back nine yesterday. Definitely got a lot tougher. So I wasn't too displeased with how I played yesterday. Obviously, I just didn't hold it together and score the way I wanted to coming down the last few holes. But felt like my game's been in pretty good shape the last couple of days.
All right, Timmy time. So here we are. Berger, big 5-shot lead. You have some excellent elite chasers in Bhatia, Oberg, Morikawa, who had the heartbreaking finish here last year. And then, you have a very dangerous bunch at 9 under. Chris Gotterup, Rory McIlroy, Ryan Fox. If Ryan Fox can start hitting some fairways, he's going to be in contention tomorrow. Let's end this here. You've got 50 seconds, Tim. Do you have a hot take for the weekend at Bay Hill? A question or a hot take? What do you got, Timmy?
My hot take is going to be Gotterup, and I actually took him to finish top 5 live at plus 450. He's a guy that is third this week in strokes gain approach. He is 10th strokes gain around the green. He's just lost 2 shots to the field putting. Well, if he gets the putter rolling on surfaces where historically he's putted well on, he will be right up in the mix come Sunday, and he could be that guy that goes out and shoots a 65 on moving day.
Tim, I absolutely love the take.
And on Sunday, last year, he was second on tour in 4th round scoring average, only behind Scotty Scheffler. And this year, he is 16th in 4th round scoring average. So he's a 4th round guy historically. Let's see if he can get it done come Sunday.
Timmy, great call, great work. Gotterup, it's a great ticket as far as the top 5 as he sits tied 9th, and you can find that at 5-1 or better actually on Kalshi as well if you're in a non-legal state. So, Tim, good work there. We appreciate Tanner Bandini jumping on in the 3rd segment, and we're ready for a great closing stretch here at Bay Hill and the Joburg and Puerto Rico and also Chile. Everyone have a great weekend. We'll see you next week here on the Golf Hour with Will Doctor.